What's going on, you guys? What's going on? So, hey, I owe you guys an apology. I've kind of been out of the loop last week, but my wife and I don't have kids, and I know it's summertime, and a lot of kids are getting out of school, and a lot of friends are disappearing. So, we've got more people coming on, but this guy we got coming on now is fun. We're gonna have a good time with him. So, please welcome an old friend. This guy almost got my ass kicked in Philadelphia one year, but
Oh, that's
please
right. I
please
remember
welcome.
that.
Yeah, Mr. John Tunnell right there. What's up, man?
Chilling like a villain. Yeah, I remember that Philadelphia thing.
Yeah, you remember that. I knew you weren't going to forget that.
Yeah, yeah.
I still talk. I still talk to him.
Oh, really? The
Oh,
what's his
that
name?
yeah, the Stewart,
Yeah.
uh,
The Union Steward over
John.
there.
Oh, he's another John. I just all of a sudden just forgot his last name.
There's another John in the world.
Uh, I'm a
Okay.
John, so I just don't tell him. I never tell anybody my first name. That's all I do. So I know he's yeah, Mr. John Keating up in Philadelphia. He last time I heard about him, he got out of he started doing the union thing. He would work for Four Wall during COVID, and I don't know. I think he's going back on shows now and doing stuff.
Good for
You're not
him.
doing shows anymore, are you?
Nope. Nope.
I
I think it's been
saw that.
5 years now.
Really?
Hmm.
So you're just doing the house thing now, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been writing books. So I've got 7 books published, and I made 3 albums. I've been playing a lot of music and making t-shirts, building houses, traveling around, doing a lot of mission trip stuff. So yeah.
So you have been doing a lot of mission stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how's the house thing going now? Last time I talked to you, you were having an issue up by because you're building up by where you're living, right?
Mhm.
'Cause you're living up in what?
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
And then you have a piece, you have some property up there you're going to build houses on.
I just now started. Like last month I started.
Really?
But
Because I
it's been
knew they were
6
giving
years.
you,
They fought me for 6 years, and I
I knew
finally
you were having a hard time with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I spent $1 million just to get started. So that sucks.
So you finally got it going.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one house. We're doing tape and bed right now in gutters. And then I've got another house. We got forms set for it. And we're going to do the plumbing as soon as the rain stops. So, and I'm doing 9
I
more
saw,
after that.
the one that you built that over there by where my folks live down off of, what was that 714? No, 712.
Oh, in
No,
Rockwall?
no, here in Cleburne.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I
You
did
were,
a couple of them. I did 3 of them over in Burleson. I did one in Rockwall.
you built that one house over there that had that big catch tank in it where it
Oh,
could
yeah.
catch
That was in
rainwater.
Cleburne. In Cleburne, I did a couple of them.
Yeah, I saw that one was up for sale.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. His dad died. And so
Oh,
he
that's too bad.
moved into his mom's house. She built a house in the backyard, kind of. And they're trying to stay close for family and all that, which I think that's good.
Yeah, we're kind of doing the same thing with my mom right now. She lives on that 4 acres just right down the road from where you were building that house. And
Yeah.
it's too much. It's too much for her. So she goes, I need to get rid of this. She goes, but I don't know what to do. And I said, Dad, just come build a house next door to mine. I got room here.
Perfect.
So she built a little house and she's slowly moving in.
Well, that's good.
She'd stop pissing off the realtors and she's trying to sell that 4 acres. I think she's been through like 3 or 4 agents now trying to sell that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just been kind of strange. So how's the music business going, man?
Music is good. I mean, I've really enjoyed playing. I've been playing a lot. I was playing like 8 times a week, and then I got a girlfriend, and now I'm playing like once every 2 weeks. So, as far as playing live for people, but I still play, myself almost every day.
That girlfriend thing will screw stuff up every time. I don't care what you're doing; it's going to mess something up. But
Well,
that's good. You got a girlfriend now. I'm glad you got
no,
a
I
girlfriend.
love her. She's great. Yeah.
Yeah, you need one, man. You need a girlfriend in your life.
Yeah.
Got all that. You're like a multi-millionaire, and you're just living by yourself. You can't do that.
No, we're better than that. She's great. She's great company, and she's just a great person all the way around. So I'm happy.
How are your kids doing?
They're good. Yeah, they're good. My son's 27 now. He just had a birthday, and my daughter's about to be 29. So,
God, John, we're getting old.
oh yeah, no, we've been old for a minute.
Just a tad bit, man.
Yeah, well,
So are you still doing T-shirts?
I do. I mostly just make it for myself now. I was in Spencer's nationwide, and then I was in head shops and bars and stuff like that, and um, then I was just doing it for myself. And I would still make shirts for other people, but I'm building so many houses that it's difficult. People say, "Hey, can you do this?" I'm like, "I can, but I don't want to."
But
Yeah,
yeah, no kidding. I think the biggest one, I think the one I noticed that the biggest hit that you had was the one that just said girls poop on it. That was
that's a good
probably
one. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, that was a good one. I think you and I were together somewhere and you're walking around downtown and everybody would just love that shirt.
They do everywhere I wear
I
it.
thought
They're
that
just
was so
like,
funny.
"That's a true story." I'm like, "I know."
You know, it happens. You know, what are you going
Yeah,
to do? So,
yeah, it's funny stuff. So you want to tell that Philadelphia story?
oh my
I mean,
God.
we
Okay.
can. You brought it up.
So we were in Philadelphia and I don't even remember. I didn't even look up to see what year it was, but you and I were in Philadelphia and what were you doing? You were doing graphics, weren't you?
So I was doing Resolume, right? I was doing the white glove box, and it was like the seventh day of an 8-day show or something like that in Philadelphia. And I remember they had the big rat out there. The union guys were all like protesting, but there's some reason why, like, they turned down the contract, and then they protested because you didn't use them or something like that. But then they were
Yeah.
there, and I didn't even know they were there. And you and I were talking backstage, and the union steward comes up and he goes, "Hey, we need more people tomorrow. You don't have enough people." And you were super nice. I got to give you credit. Like, you were just like, "Oh, okay. Well, if we need more people, then let's get more people. How many do we have?" And he starts going down the list of all the people on there, and then he says, the Resolume guy. And I'm like, wait a minute, I got a shadow. I'm like, everybody in this industry that knows how to do this, I've trained them personally because it's still pretty new. Uh, and
Oh, yeah,
me and
that
Walker
was
and Eric,
real new back then. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember
me and
that.
Walker and Eric were the ones that kind of brought it to corporate. And then I trained people, but it wasn't not enough time had passed for me to train somebody that trained somebody. Right? It was all first gen stuff. And so when he said I had a shadow, I was like, so this shadow hasn't bothered to like come talk to me to see and I said, which one's the shadow? And you look back, I don't know, one of those guys back there, and they all had their feet kicked up and they're sleeping and looking at their phones, all this. And I just thought it was funny. I mean, I know how it works. I know how the union stuff works. And so I'm like, whatever. But I wanted to show Walker because I thought it was funny. And so I went back to the bathroom. And as I walked out, I went click, click, click.
You
And I
took
went
the
back to my
picture.
station, and the whole group comes up behind me and they're like, delete those pictures. I'm like, what pictures? And they're all like, the pictures you took of us sleeping and stuff. And I'm all like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, yes, you do. We're going to make a thing out of this. And then they called their boss and he called his boss and they came to you, and everybody
Oh,
got involved.
yeah, I really appreciate that you threw that I got dumped off in the middle of that crap.
I think we almost
Keating was
died.
I did too. Keating was pissed. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Oh,
he was ready to come find you.
yeah.
And he kept on and kept on and I didn't know him that well, but
Right.
we got to know each other then and
And now
I
you're
just
best
assured him.
friends.
I said, "He's not malicious." I said, "John, I will take care of it. Let me get with him. We'll get this straightened out."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, okay, all right, you know." And then later on, after you and I talked, we got all this figured out. And I don't know if you deleted him or not, and I care
I
less.
did, but
But
all I did was I sent him to Walker. I was like, haha, one of these guys is my shadow. That's all I wanted to do. I wasn't trying to do anything bad. But
no,
then they came up to me and they go, you know what, we're gonna have you fired. I'm like, okay. It's hard to fire somebody that doesn't work for you, but whatever. And they said, because you posted pictures on Facebook of people sleeping during a conference. And I was like, 10 years ago. Do you know how hard it is to go back through my social media 10 years? I mean, I post a lot. I'm posting
oh
5 to
yeah,
15 videos a day. I got 80,000 followers. And then for them to be all like, we look back 10 years in your Facebook, I'm like, you guys are dedicated. And then they came back and they said, you did make some cool pictures of Philadelphia, though. I'm like, yeah, it's a cool city. I'm not hating on you. I just thought it was funny.
yeah, and that was the thing. I thought that's what I had to do to get John convinced is that dude, he's not taking these pictures and putting them out there trying to get you guys in trouble. He just
No,
did it, and it was no big deal. And I finally got him to calm down, and then after that, he didn't want to kill us as much
as
the
much.
next
Yeah.
days. Yeah, the
It's
next
important to have
day. So
grades of killing people.
Exactly. We have to kind of get it lowered, kind of lower the standard every day if we can't do that. So, oh, he was pissed, man. I'm telling you, he was
I
really
know.
mad about that. God.
They ganged up around me. I was just like doing my job, and I look behind me. And there's like 10 guys like, delete those pictures right now. I'm like, yikes! What are you talking about?
And you know that every time that I worked with John after that, I
He
would go
brought it up.
around taking pictures. I would go around taking pictures of him and shit, and he would like, "Well, what are you doing?" Nothing. I'm not doing anything. I'm just. He goes.
That's hilarious.
He would go, "Don't start that shit right now." And I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not doing anything."
That's great.
He actually is a fun guy. He really is a fun guy to mess
I'm sure
around
most
with.
people are. It's just if you get on their bad
Yeah,
side, then they're less fun.
you just caught him at a wrong time, I think, that day because my God, he
Yeah,
was
my bad.
mad.
I literally was just going to
That's
send it to Walker, be like, oh, that's it.
so what's Walker doing? He's in Vegas now, isn't he?
He is in Vegas. Yeah. I talked to him, I think like last week. Um, and he's kind of chilling. He made some money doing all that. We all kind of made some money doing the White Glove Box stuff. And then, um, we did a bunch of big shows, and then I got out of the business. So did I tell you how I got out of the business? Did I tell you that?
Mm-mm.
So I was doing BlizzCon, and it's like a $38 million production, right? Well, usually every year they have me doing Overwatch, which I don't even really play video games, and I'd never played Overwatch or any of these things. And so I showed up, but I kind of knew enough to like make it through. And this was all like proprietary. They were making this software as they went, right? So Walker was writing code on Python, and Eric was, and a couple other guys, and they were just like typing it out and making it work live, which was amazing. And I mean, it still is amazing. Um, and so I was like, I can't be there till day 2 or whatever. I can't be there for setup because I'm doing some other shows. And so I finished one, flew into another, did that in the morning, flew into that one, and they go, "You're not on Overwatch, you're on World of Warcraft." I'm like, whatever. And I was like, I don't know anything about it. So I show up, and they got broadcast trucks and I don't know, 100 million people watching or whatever it was. And I get on comm, and this guy is screaming just nonstop, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, golly, dude, take a breath. But I didn't say that. And he goes, "Where are my graphics?" And he's like, he called my position out. And I was like, I just got here. Give me a second. I was like, hey, where's this graphics at? And they go, he hasn't given us the graphics. And I'm like, apparently you haven't given us the graphics. And he goes, well, I need them. I'm like, so do I. I don't know. I mean, until I have the graphics, if I push the button, it's just nothing, right? So I gotta have the videos and stuff. And they didn't get them to me till like last minute. It was like, here's the graphics, put them in the machine, and we're live. And I'm like, gulp. And so this guy never stopped talking, and he was just babbling, yelling 17 hours a day. And apparently, and I'm a pretty happy guy. I mean, I'm pretty easygoing.
Yeah,
And
you don't get rattled much.
no, I mean, I'm kind of used to it. I'm like, whatever, I know it's a crisis to you. It's the end of the world, but it's just Tuesday to me. I don't care. Make my money and leave. And so he was going on and on and on, and they took pictures of me, the guys on the crew, and they were like, this is what you look like. I'm like, I look miserable. And they go, yeah, man, I've never seen you this miserable. And so we get to the end of the day, I was like, can anybody else do this job? I'm beat up right now. And so they had Adam Blair get in there, and he got on comm, and they go, Adam does this all the time. He plays World of Warcraft. He does this for a living. Like, he's the full-time guy that's in Burbank or whatever. And we'll have him do it. And so he gets on comm, and I'm like, man, that guy is too much. And I don't remember what the guy's name was, but I'm like, I'm so glad to be off comm. My head's killing me, whatever. And all of a sudden, Adam takes off his headphones and throws them down. He goes, man, screw that guy. And he walks off, and they look at me like, you got to sit back down, right? I was like,
you're back on.
So I put him back on. I finished the day. And then the next day I'm sitting there, he's still yelling. And I was like, golly. And finally, I just, for whatever reason, I looked down. I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting up with this guy? Like, I'm rich. I don't need him. I don't need his money. I never even wanted to do this. Somebody just asked me to do it. I've been doing it for 20 years. Like, what am I doing? And I was like, how many shows am I committed to right now? I was like, I got to do this and a brain surgery convention, something else. I'm like, come November, I'm going to retire. And everybody goes, okay. I guess I mumbled it on comm. okay, we'll see you next week. I'm like, no, you won't. And that was the last show I did. I just do JDRF and Frog Street now, and that's it. So,
Oh, really? Yeah, I thought you had posted that you're still doing one a year, but
yeah,
that was
now it's one a year because Frog Street got bought out by somebody else. So now it's JDR, but they changed their name to Breakthrough T1D. But they're super nice people, and I believe in their cause, and so I still do that show. But everything else, I don't do it anymore, and I'm so much happier.
well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, you got some stories too, don't you? Who all did you do stuff for?
No, I don't have any stories. I don't
You got
talk about
stories.
any.
How many years did you do that stuff?
How many years did I do this stuff? Well,
No, how many years did you do
on
AV?
okay, on the corporate side, I started that in 2001.
So that was
So I was over 20 years in that one
yeah.
on that side. Before that, I did nightclubs, live music venues, bars, all that stuff, and I did that for about 20 years.
Yeah. So you got a
And
long time in there. You got
that
some stories.
I got a few there. You've got a few too. I know
I
you
got
go
some
way
stories. You
back.
just ask me anything. I'll
What
give you a story.
what your rock and roll clubs you used to own and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Hey, whatever happened to that one club you owned? That I'm
So
trying to think.
Dreamworld
What was
Music
the name of?
Complex. Yeah, Dreamworld Music Complex. I bought that building in 2000, and I opened December 2nd of 2000, and then I sold it in September 2004. But I owner financed part of it, and so I got it back in 2007, and then I kept it for another 9 months and built it back up, and then sold it again in 2008. And then the people went bankrupt twice, and then it got foreclosed on, and so I lost 100 grand at the end of it. But that's the short story.
I was just wondering. Yeah, we've got a my my lovely wife decided that she was going to open up a men's clothing store. We've got the business. We've still got tag, so we're still
Mm-hmm.
doing embroidery screen printing. But she decided she was going to open a men's store downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So we bought a building downtown,
Yeah.
and so they had that for about a couple of years. They did it, but it was done, and they decided
It's
they want to
tough,
close it
man.
up. So
Opening up anything that's open to the public is a tough gig.
well, my dad told me that years and years ago. He said the hardest thing to do is you can never tell what the general population is going to do.
Yeah.
You don't know, and so we just we just kept on, and they wanted to. I am trying to figure something out here. I apologize, but this thing is doing something it's not supposed to be doing. Let's ignore that because I was gonna. Okay, that button doesn't work, but that's okay. Hey, real quick, I'm looking at your screen. Your camera looks a little blurry. You okay over there? How do you look on your side?
Let's see if I got something to pipe it off with. I guess I could just. Let me see what I can do here. That ain't better? Not really.
Nah, it's still this. It'll probably fix up in edit. It usually does. It tries to get everything straightened out because it'll always say what you're seeing now will look completely different after you edit. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
are you doing anything online? I know you were at one time you were doing some stuff. Or you?
So I had a TV show for a while called John Works Too Much. And that was on Abundant TV, which was like Roku and Amazon Fire, Amazon Fire and Apple TV and Abundant TV, and then I think a couple others. I did 7 seasons of that. It's 100 and something episodes. I forget what. There were 28 and a half minute, 30-minute episodes. But I never got paid. And so then my sister-in-law said, you ought to do vertical reels and get a TikTok. And I was like, well, I'm not a 14-year-old girl. And then she showed me her bank account. And I was like, well, funny story. It turns out I am a 14-year-old girl. And so that day I made a TikTok and started doing vertical reels. And real quick, I got a bunch of followers. And then Facebook 2 weeks later was like, do you want to go pro? I'm like, yeah, whatever that means. And then 2 weeks after that, I started getting paid. So I kind of stopped doing the TV show because I have to go vertical for social media and it's horizontal for TV. And I was like, I don't want to be sitting here doing 2 videos every time I do a video because it's all day, every day. And I'm busy anyway. So that's how that
The
worked
only
out. But
thing that the only thing that I really liked about TikTok and the reason why I installed it on my phone was because of the recording, the video stuff that you could do with it. Facebook wasn't there yet.
right.
It's just weird. And so I put that on my phone, so I would record everything for the store or for the business or something, and I would use those videos and put those on Facebook and use them that way. But other than the actual platform of TikTok, I hate it. It drives me nuts. It's
Yeah.
crazy. I've never
I
seen
mean,
anything
I
like
got
it.
42,000 followers on TikTok, so I post every day, several times a day.
I don't on there. And what I was doing was, it is, you talk to people and they always go, "Oh, you should write a book." Which
Yeah.
you have, you've
7.
written books.
Yeah.
I haven't, okay, because I'm just not educated. I don't want to write a
Yeah.
book. So I was talking to my cousin. He's down in the RGV, and he goes, "Why don't you do a podcast?"
Way easier.
I go, "A podcast?" I was like, and I said, "Okay." So I've never done a podcast before, and I've got everything here. So I figured,
Yeah.
and so I put the word out if anybody would be interested, and it was like my email just like blew up, and everybody
Oh yeah.
wanted to do it. And I thought, well, okay, we'll start doing it. And so I started. I just wanted to bring people on that are in bands, or if they're, I mean, what you're doing now,
You?
with oh,
So
you
professional
and that,
clowns then?
yeah, there's a lot of professional clowns that I've brought in. I'm telling you, holy crap! I mean, I've got a ton of them too,
Oh yeah.
but it was like, all the ones that we were going to get recorded here these couple of months. Everybody's kind of all over the place now. And you were on the list, and I came down and I saw you there, and I was like, "I'm gonna call Tunnell and see if he's around." So
And I was available. It's perfect because it
you
rained.
were. It surprised me that you were, because I was like, "Going, damn, I got him! I can't believe it."
Yeah. Yeah. Usually I'm like, I can make it work, I guess. And you're like, can you do this? I'm like, tomorrow. Tomorrow I can do it. So it worked out. It's my
No, I
girlfriend's
know with
birthday
you.
today.
Oh, well, tell her happy birthday.
Yeah, but she's working, so I was like, I can do it. I was like, what time are you working? And she told me, I was like, I can do it at 6.
Does she work in the evenings or nights, or does she?
She's a dance instructor, and then she does DJ stuff, and she's a health and life coach, and she does improv comedy, and then she does 4-day weekend stuff. So she's a PA for 4-day weekend. So she has quite a few things.
Really? Well,
Oh yeah.
she sounds pretty cool.
Well, she is pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah,
I
I love
like
her.
her. I think I'm gonna have her on next, man. We'll get her
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's what
she's working for 4-day weekend, and
yeah. So 4-day lost their venue, and then they went to Stage West, but then they lost that venue. So then they were Casa Manana for a month, but then that's kind of over right now. So they're kind of looking for another place, I think. But it's been a tough run for them for the last year or so.
I bet. Yeah, last time I saw them was it's been probably a year and a half ago, and they
Mhm.
were just a typical. They've always been good. I've just
Oh yeah.
always loved those guys to
Yeah.
death. But I I started reading that they were going to lose the venue they were in,
Hmm.
and the one right next to that restaurant. I never can remember the name of it, but then I saw they had found another place, but I didn't realize they'd lost that one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but they are funny. I mean, I do tech for them sometimes, and they're a funny group of guys for sure.
Oh yeah, they're great. We had
Yeah.
fun. Except till my friend helped me stand up and he threw me on the floor. But other than that, I was having a good time. So
So let's hear some of your road stories.
oh my God, road stories. Do I have any? Is the
You got
question.
road stories.
I wasn't on the road. Well, I was on the road a lot. I was just, it's, wow. I don't have any stories to tell, do I?
Sure you do.
I think I've told everything already. No, I haven't.
You
There's
can
got
just name a city or the country or anything. I'll be like, oh, I got stories from there. Hold on a
yeah,
second.
yeah. When Philadelphia came up, you knew exactly where
Oh,
I
I
was
do.
going with
Yeah, I do. That's a hilarious story.
that. I'm trying to think of where I just got myself in all kinds of trouble somewhere. I know I
That's every
did,
day
but
for me.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. For
Yeah, no,
me,
every
it's
day.
just like sit here and look out the window all day. Heat this chair.
I know we were doing a show with Gemini. I want to say like in Milwaukee or something like that. And so the guys were all like, we heard about this secret bar. And I'm like, I don't care. And like, we're going to go to the secret bar. I'm like, whatever. And so you had to have a password to get in. Or do you know about this place? No. So there's no sign for it. It's like in a back alley somewhere. And, you got to like have a secret knock. And they like, who is it? And so you get in there in this pretty small room, and there's like a guy at a podium and you, and then there's a door in and a door out. And he's like, what's the password? And somebody that's about to say, he's like, oh, tell me in my ear. And so he gets up there and whispers it. He goes, that's not it. And we're like, what? What do you mean that's not it? And he goes, no, that's not it. So then he's like, well, do something. And we're like, do what? And I could tell it's about to get, ugly. They're gonna have us do something weird. And so I was like, what if I can do the splits? And he goes, all right, go ahead. And so, I can. And so I just dropped into the splits. And it's like, okay, you can go in. And so they open the door to let us into like the main area. And everybody in the bar starts clapping. And I'm all like, what in the world is going on? How did they even know? They're like, man, those splits are awesome, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what are you talking about, you bunch of weirdos? And I look up and they've got cameras. They got TVs all over the bar. And there's cameras on that little room with people trying to get in and doing dumb stuff all day long. And so everybody in the bar saw me do it. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Those guys that are doing splits and backflips and handstands and trying to get into the club. Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me. That reminds me of the time I went down to I've got a lot of my family lives down in the valley. Still, they're down in RGV, and went down with a friend of mine one time, and we decided we were going to go to Mexico one night. After my uncle told us don't go to Mexico, and I was like, okay, we won't go to Mexico. So we parked on the American side, and we jumped in the car with some friends, and we rode across the border, and then we went. No, we didn't go to TJ. No. We were in Matamoros. I think we were in Matamoros, but we of course we went and got loaded, I guess you could say. Yeah, we did. So we were just having a good time, no big deal. Well, the guy that I knew, that he lived down there, he was a friend of my cousin, and I've just known him for years. And he knew the girl that let us ride over the border with her. Well, he made her mad, and so she wouldn't take us back. So we're sitting there figuring, how are we going to do this now? And we ran into somebody else that had a truck.
Yeah.
And so they said, we'll take you back over, but you got to ride in the back. And I thought, okay, I just want to get over. Now, when we were going back over, I did not take into consideration that a lot of my family members are border patrolmen.
Yeah.
And so they know us down there. And so we're coming back over the border, and we're all just I'm in the back of the truck, and I'm drunk, and I'm not even trying to hide it. And he goes, what are you? And I go, I'm drunk. He goes, no, I said, I'm an American citizen. Well, then another one comes out. Well, he worked with my cousin.
Yeah.
And he sees me, and he goes, what are you doing? And I say, I'm trying to go home. And he goes, yeah, you look like you need to go home. And so they finally just waved us through, and we got through.
Did they take pictures of you?
They should have. And then of course my uncle had locked us out. So we took my family van, and we had driven it down. So we had the big van. So we slept in the van in the yard that night. God, that was horrible. That was a bad hangover is what that was.
It sounds glamorous.
Oh yeah, show business has always been glamorous. You know how that is.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Just look at us. We're in show business.
Yeah, we're famous. Well, backstage famous.
Yeah. I always love people. Can you get me backstage? No.
No, I can't. Could you try? Also, no.
Yeah, there's I tell myself there's a terminology for people backstage. It's called in the way. So you
Yeah.
know you can't go backstage.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to do a job here.
Just a little bit. But yeah, everybody always thought that that's where all the excitement was going on was backstage. That's
Yeah.
where the party was. Everything was partying. Everything was happening. I'm like, no. Kept telling me, that we want to go back and meet the artist or something. I said, no. I said, we don't even see him half the time.
Yeah, we don't even care.
Sure. Get him on the stage, let them sing, get them off so we can go home.
Yeah.
We did that forever, man. We were running Cowboys over there in Arlington. Oh my God. It was just nonstop all the time over there.
Oh yeah.
Because one of your bars is kind of over in the mid city Arlington area, wasn't it?
Do what?
Was it one of your clubs over kind of in the mid city or Arlington
Yeah, it was
area?
in Arlington. Yeah. Off
Was it
division.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you were on Division. Okay, so how you were
Mhm.
down the street from us then somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, it was mine was farther west past Bowen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I say between Bowen and East Chase, people look at me like I'm got three heads. But then when I said between Baby Dolls and LeBaire, they'd be like, "Oh, I know where it is."
Exactly where it is. Yeah. Name off the topless and bottomless clubs, and yeah, everybody knows where those are.
No, oh yeah, I know what that is. So, funny story. We had a sold out show at Dreamworld, and we were parking all the cars at there's a 7 acres of grass right next to my building, right? That they didn't use at night. And so I said, look, I will, if you let us use this grass to park cars, I'll collect the money. I'll clean up. If anything is broken, I'll pay for it and I'll give you half the money. So you just go to sleep and wake up in the morning. Everything will be as it was and I'll give you money. And they're like, okay, sure. But we had a sold out show and the cops came to us that day and said, if you park anybody here, we're going to ticket you for every car that parks here. So I'm scrambling, trying to find some other place to park everybody. And everybody's saying no. And then the parking lot's filling up. I got tour buses there. We're getting close to the end. And somebody goes, why don't you go down to LeBaire? They got a big open parking lot. It's walking distance. And then see if they can park there. I mean, what else are they doing? It's always empty. And I was like, I don't want to go to LeBaire. And he goes, come on here, get in my car. And I was like, I don't want to lose my spot. He goes, you just get in my car. So I do. And we drive down there and he's like, I'm not going in. I'm like, I don't blame you. So I walk up to the door and these guys are like, you can't go in. I'm like, perfect. I don't want to. I just want to talk to management. I own Dream World and, we want to park or whatever. And after a couple minutes, they're like, okay, you can come in. So I'm walking in like this, like, hey guys.
Yep.
I get back to the office. It's all Chippendales posters and everybody looks like they're gay. And I'm like, I just want to do my business and leave. And so I was like, hey, can we park, our cars here? And they go, sorry, we're owned by Baby Dolls. It's corporate. It's a big decision. We can't let you just do it on a whim and, good luck. And I was like, fine, whatever. So I leave. Right. But I guess here's the things I didn't pay attention to. The guy that gave me a ride was driving his mom's car, which was a hot pink Jeep with the rag top down and leopard skin seats. And no sooner I get out of it, I didn't even notice. I was just like, oh, I need a ride. So, I got in and it was invisible to me. But I got out of the Jeep and I started walking up to the building and some girl walks up and goes, is that the owner of Dream World? And he goes, yep. She goes, is he gay? And he goes, yep.
Well, it's Pride Month, so you might as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm celebrating a transplant that I've got. So I had a plant and I moved it somewhere else to transplant.
Just moved it over to this side.
Yeah, I moved over here.
Yeah, when you said LeBaire, I've got a good LeBaire story for you.
Let's hear it. Yeah, let's hear it.
I've told this 100 times, but I used to work at a club. I used to DJ at a club called Cadillac Jackson up in what was north of Dallas. God, I'm losing my mind. I'm getting old. Dallas and then Frisco and then anyway, Addison is where it was.
Oh yeah,
and where the cops drove Volvos and stuff. So we had this club there, and they started this thing. It was like ladies' night, and I think we did it on either Wednesday or Thursday night. but it was ladies only from 5 until 9.
Uh-huh.
And then after 9 o'clock, they let the guys in. And
Once the girls were all drunk.
what we did was we hired Randy the Master Blaster from LeBaire, and he put a team together. And he brought all these guys to the club, and so we basically had a big strip club from 5 to 9 on whatever night that was. And man, I'll tell you what, when the guys got there at 9 o'clock, party was on because the girls they were primed and ready to go. But I remember I was emceeing the thing, and there was another guy that was DJing for me. And so I said, I'm going to run upstairs. We had a little dressing room made. And we said, I'm going to go up there and get them and let them know we're 5 minutes out. So I go up there and I knock on the door. The door flings wide open. There's Randy standing there, and he didn't have a stitch of clothing on.
Mm-hmm. And you're like,
and I was like, I was going to back up first of all because I didn't want that damn thing to hit me. And I was like, and I'm like going, he goes, yeah. And I said, well, we're about 5 minutes out. And I just kept looking up. I didn't even want to see what was going on because they're all in there getting ready and they're fluffing. And I was like, guys, we got 5 minutes. Just be downstairs.
They're fluffing.
I can actually, ladies, yes, I have seen it in person. Whoa. Okay. That's all I can say. That's enough. But, we had a good time with those guys. They were fun. They were fun guys. But man, women just, God help you trying to get out of that place on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Because they were primed and they were ready to go. Drunk and horny is what they were.
A lot of herpes happened.
Jesus, I'd never seen anything like that one. That was fun. What the hell else have you been up to?
What else have I been up to?
Yeah.
I've been building houses.
Yeah,
I got this community garden going at my house, which I think is pretty cool. Writing books, so that's good. Playing music, that's fun. Got a girlfriend, that's good. I don't know. Quite a bit of stuff. Traveling,
How many houses are you building right now?
We're doing 11 right now. So I just sold 4, and then I built another one for somebody, and then I'm building 11 more, and then I've got some other land too. So
you're still building all those on the property you had over by where you were at?
Yeah. So it's in my neighborhood. I can walk down and go to work, and it's a dead end street, so the traffic is non-existent.
Because I knew the city was giving you a hard time there for a while. So.
For a long time. Yeah, for a long time. It was so unnecessary, but I had to dig a lake, and that cost me $100,000, and then I had to put in all the sewer pipes.
What was the lake thing about?
They said I had to have a retention pond, and so I dug it, and I took that dirt and put it up on the hill where I needed it. But I guess everything has to have a retention pond. I started getting upset about it. I heard about some Wendy's or something like that. It was, in commercial space. It was pretty small, a quarter acre or something like that. And they had to have a retention pond, but they couldn't do it above ground because they had to have so much parking and stuff. And so they had to do like an underground water collection tank that then spilled over to something else. And I'm like, is this real life? But basically, if you have one piece of property and just build a house there, no big deal. But if you have one piece of property and divide it in half and then build 2 houses there, now all of a sudden you're a land developer and all the rules change. But they didn't tell me that before, even though I went to them and asked. And so because I'm doing, 11, then they're like, well, you're a mogul. I'm like, I'm not a mogul. I'm a dude that bought some land trying to build some houses. But yeah, I had to put in like manholes and 8-inch sewer pipes and dig 17 feet deep into the street and, all new power lines. And
they made you do a lot of stuff that they should have done, I think.
Oh yeah. They wanted me to do all new roads. They wanted me to spend $5 million doing roads. I'm like, for 11 houses, the math doesn't add up. I'm not going to make $5 million on all these put together. I'm not even going to gross that much.
So who ended up doing the streets?
They're still crappy. They still need to be done. But I'm paying all kind of impact fees. I mean, at first they came back and said, it's $150,000 in impact fees. And I'm like, what? And then they came back and said, no, it's $250,000 in impact fees. And so I fought them for a long time on that. And then I did all the sewer stuff at my cost to try to save some money. They wanted $40,000 per sewer tap. And I was like, what? And so that would have been $500,000, but instead I spent 100,000 doing it myself. So it's, it's insane. But like I said, I got $1 million in it just to have land that's now ready to build houses on. But I've
That's
started, so yeah, it'll be okay. But I mean, when I see what people go through, I'm just like, why? I mean, they kicked back my civil engineering plans 27 times, and I'd pay review fees each time, and I forget what it was, $25,000 in review fees to look at my paper and tell me I'm wrong. Um, and then I had to pay my engineer too, and I don't even know how much that was, but it was a lot. It was a bit of a nightmare.
Lord, they don't make it easy, do they?
No, not even a little bit.
And then
And the
you've
thing
got
is, they passed up like $750,000 in property tax in the amount of time they've stalled me. I'm like, just let me build my houses. You're gonna make money. You're stepping
but
over a
yeah,
dollar to pick up a dime.
yeah. I was going to say they're like, yeah, that's pretty. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
You know, like my old man used to say, tripping over a dollar to pick up a nickel. That's how it
Yeah.
goes. But it, yeah, you get some people that just. I think there's people out there that just don't know what the hell they're doing.
Oh, there's a lot of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like it to me because they kind of did the same thing here when Under Armour was moving down here,
Oh wow. Okay.
and the city here had a chance to pick it up, and they screwed it up royally, and so the city next door is getting it now.
Well,
So
good.
they're building Alvarado now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they do
When
that stuff all the time, and I'm like, why are you chasing off business? Like, how dumb are you? The people
well,
coming into your town with money, let them do it.
the building they were looking at here is already, I mean, was a clothing manufacturing place.
Well, then that's
All
perfect.
this, all the sewing machines are still in there. Everything's still in there. And
Huh.
Under Armour just came in and said, "Look, we just want to buy all this out, and we're just going to build our place here." And they sent some rookie down there to visit with the people, and they just kind of screwed it up royally. And because what they wanted to do, because we've got a rail yard here,
Uh-huh.
and they wanted a tax break because they were going to ship everything via rail down here because
Yeah.
they're up in New York, and they just they screwed the pooch, and they didn't get it done, and so now they're going over to Alvarado next door.
Well, I don't blame them.
It would have been a great business to have here, but they
Sure.
goofed that.
Yeah, they do some dumb stuff. Let me tell you that I've had them say, "I don't know how to do your job, but my book says you're doing it wrong." I'm just like, uh-huh. And I'm over
It's
here
like
like, you've seen how fast I build houses, right? The
uh,
last one, we just did a 6-bedroom, 3-bath in 25 working days. This one we're doing right now, we've got sheetrock is up, tape and bed is done, siding, windows, doors, electrical, plumbing, heat and air, paint, roof, gutters, everything is up. We did that in 10 working days. And, these guys are all like, well, we need to just hold up a little bit longer. I'm like, could you just tell me which side of a hammer to use when I'm trying to hit a nail in? How about you just do that?
it's just I don't get it. You could make things work so much easier if you just you know
Get out of the
just kind of
way.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
I
open
know.
your mind a little bit, or we got into that argument one time. I was a friend from years back. He was in a band, and he came to me and goes, "Hey, would you book us? You go out and book us sometimes." I said, "Yeah, that's no problem." So and they were a Zeppelin tribute band, and Leo was the drummer, and these guys were really good. I mean,
Mhm.
they really just blew me away when I heard them, and so I said, "Yeah, I'll go out and do it." So I booked him at one club, and I don't remember if it was DCL or whatever it was, and the guy there, I booked him, and he took him no problem, and then went down kind of closer to Deep Element. That it was called On the Rocks was the other rock club,
Mhm.
and so I went down and met with them and talked to them, and they were interested in the band, so I got them booked, and then they called me like the next day, and On the Rocks called me and said, "Hey, we can't you guys can't play here. And I said, what's the problem? He said, well, you're playing at this other club before us. And I went, so? Oh, well, you can't, if you're playing there, you got to wait like, several months before you can come play with us. And I said, don't you guys cross promote? And they go, oh, no, no, we don't do that. And I said, how hard is it for you just to say, if you got a band on stage, let them say, hey, man, we're playing at this club next weekend. Come see us or whatever.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
If it's getting people through the door, who cares? But,
Yeah.
he was such a dickhead. He was not letting it go at all.
Yeah. There's
And
a
I
lot of
finally
that.
just said, okay, if you don't want them, I won't put them there. And of
Yeah.
course, I had to call the guys and tell them, and, I felt like crap because, that was a good gig, but he wouldn't let it happen. So
There's a lot of
Leo
that.
still laughs at me. Leo laughs at me still that day and tells me I suck because I didn't get that gig. But oh well, he had to dig on me when he was on here. Oh my gosh. So what the hell else is going on? I
What
feel
else is going on?
lost today for some weird reason. I don't know what it is.
That happens. So my girlfriend, she's a vegetarian, and she's all like, we should grow our own vegetables. You got land? I'm like, sure, I do. And then I was like, but I'm also lazy. Like, we got to factor that into the equation. And so I was like, my next door neighbor has a landscaping company, and he mows my lawn, all my lawns for me. Super nice guy. I flipped his house, love him. And so I was like, hey, if we had a garden here and you could eat stuff from the garden, would you help out? He goes, oh man, yeah, we wanted to have a garden, but we're too shaded over here. So yeah, we'll help. I was like, oh, cool. So then I went to the neighbor on the other side. I was like, hey, we're thinking about doing a garden. If you helped out, you could eat whatever you wanted. And they're like, ooh, good. We want a garden too, but our pool is too big to have one at our house. I was like, okay, perfect. And I went to all my neighbors, and I was like 16 of them. I said, hey, if you guys help, then you can have whatever you want. And they were like, okay. So now it's a community garden. And I don't know anything about gardening. So I've got a bobcat, and I cleared a like 50 by 50 area. And then we put down cardboard, which I got for free because I'm friends with the guy that owns CC's. And so he's like, you can have as much cardboard as you want. And then we got mushroom dirt for free because there's these places that grow mushrooms. They're like, we have to pay to dump it. So come get it. So I got a couple trailer loads of mushroom dirt for free. And I put that down. And then my neighbor that I flipped his house, he has horses. And so I got horse manure for free. And then I got another friend who does tree trimming. And so he has a chipper truck and he has to dump that. So we got all the wood chips for free. And then a bunch of people said, we want to give you seeds. And so I took those from the ground. Well, now I've got this garden that produces, 20 or 30 pounds of vegetables a day. And we can't I'm just giving it away to everybody I can. Like, please take these vegetables. So it's pretty cool to see it.
But you're getting that much now.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. I'm getting like 3 bags of zucchinis and cucumbers a day, and they're huge. It's like I've got zucchinis that are like this big, and I'm over here like, how? But every day, like I didn't see it the day before, and all of a sudden I'm like, that thing's ginormous. And big cucumbers and all this stuff. And then we got like arugula and cilantro and watermelons are growing, and cantaloupe and raspberries and all kinds of stuff. So pretty exciting.
That's pretty cool that you got everybody involved, and everybody should make a big giant garden out of it.
Well, yeah, and it's cool to see. It's a good excuse to talk to your neighbors. Like we're supposed to love our neighbor, and yet people are like, if they see their neighbor wave at them, they're like, oh, it's time for us to move. I don't want to talk to my neighbor. And I'm like, you ought to get to know them. They might be kind of cool people. They might be a valuable resource when the apocalypse happens.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, rather than like having to get a bunch of ammunition, you guys can just share stuff. I don't know. So like I was sharing zucchini with one of my neighbors, and then her sister has chickens. And so then they brought us a bunch of eggs for free. And I was like, this is awesome. And, to them, the eggs are extra, and to us, the zucchinis are extra. And so everybody's kind of bartering, if you will. So it's,
yeah, our neighbor does that. He lives like I think he's next to, I think he's got like 20 acres he's on, but he has chickens and stuff. And his daughters come down every once in a while, bring us eggs. And we get eggs from them all the time. It's nice to get fresh eggs, though.
Oh yeah, and they're like $75 a dozen or something like that now.
Something crazy.
Yeah,
we don't pay for them. They just bring them down. They just got so many chickens. They're laying so fast that they can't get rid of them fast enough. So
Yeah.
they just keep bringing them down, dropping them off to us. And I told myself, I'll take them. I don't care.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how much the ground produces, because really it's just dirt, air, and water, and you put a seed in the ground. All of a sudden, I'm like, how did this turn into this that fast? Like, it just keeps producing stuff. Like, where's it coming from? It's cool.
It's great. We've we were going to plant fruit trees, and we haven't done that yet. We've
You
been
should do it,
talking
man. You
about it.
should do it.
We've been talking about it, but now we had to build the house over there next door, so that's where we were going to put them all. So now we got to
There's
find
room.
some
You
place.
find a place to put some fruit trees in there. You know the best time to plant a
Right.
tree? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yeah, we got 10 acres up down over in Louisiana that's full of pine trees. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with that next.
Get it
'Cause
logged, man.
I am. I've been talking to a guy. I've got to get a hold of him, see if I can get him back because I went to high school with his sister.
Uh-huh.
And I called some friends back home because a lot of families were in the logging business. Well,
Yeah.
called back and most everybody's out now.
Um,
Everybody's retired. And so they gave me a name of this one guy. And because some guy called my mom and he goes, well, I'll clear it all out for $350. And I said, I bet you will for $350. You'll clear it out.
yeah, he'll take all the money.
Oh yeah,
But, I
take
mean,
all that
there's-
money out of there.
There's I used to live in Republic, Washington, and they had a sawmill and 2 gold mines. And so I worked in a gold mine and I worked at the sawmill, and then I was a logger for a while. And I mean, basically, when your trees are big, then they come in and they they have to say however many trees you got to keep or whatever. You can't just clear cut. But then they thin it all out and they're like, we'll give you however many tens of thousands of dollars for it.
Yeah.
And then they take care of it and they leave some slash piles or whatever, but kind of so what?
Yeah, they were funny because it was a lot of people didn't want to. Where we used to live in Louisiana, there was a sawmill down the road from us,
Uh-huh.
and so I remember the logging trucks day in and day out going up and down that road. But I don't know if it's still there or not. But I've been trying to find somebody just go over and clear that 10 acres off because those trees they planted those trees 25 years ago.
Yeah, they're probably big by now.
Yeah, I think they're pretty sizable at this point.
Uh-huh.
Keep asking my mom. I said, "Have you talked?" I don't know anything about it, and I was like, "I'll do it."
I bet you just Google like where the nearest sawmill is to that place and call them up and say, do you know anybody that can do this? And I bet they'll have somebody.
I've got a list of guys, and just got to try to get one of them that'll do it. And the guys they're running if there's any pulpwood on there, and I said, "There's no pulpwood on that. That was all planted for lumber."
Yeah.
Yep. Good old pine trees.
That's good stuff, though.
How is the cost of building now?
The cost of building, I build for $180 a square foot, and I think a lot of them, I think it's between $180 and $280 a square foot. A lot of stuff's selling for about $225.
What's property going for? What's land going for now?
In the city, I mean, well, not even in the city, but between $50,000 and $100,000 for like a half acre.
Really, I was kind of thinking it was because I was thinking I've been seeing some of them out here that people for an acre they're wanting $70,000. I was like, oh.
Yeah, the farther out of town you get, the less expensive it is. And the more you buy, the less expensive it is. But I remember being younger, we bought in 1990 about 20 acres of land for $16,900. So that's less than $1,000 an acre. But now it's like $100,000 or more an acre.
Yeah, because we bought that property up in Little Elm many years ago. We paid $5,000 an acre for it, and we bought 2 5-acre patches. One my parents lived on, and the other one sat up on the highway and did nothing until we sold it 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
got more
dumped
than 5,000. You got more than 5,000.
Just a little bit, yeah, a little bit more than 5,000. Just a tad bit. I'll put put it to you this way: everything's paid off. So I think you're wondering.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, real
it
estate
was,
is the best investment. I've had bad luck with everything else except for real estate.
my dad always told me that. He said, just keep buying land because they're not making any more of that.
That's a true story. It's a true story.
But
And
it's
even
got to the
dirt,
point.
you think dirt doesn't cost that much, but it's a fortune.
Oh yeah, it was silly. I got to get all this next door here to buy our house where we built this little place for my mother. I've got to get all that landscape again because when they went in and leveled all that out, I thought they were going to bring dirt in and level it, but they didn't. They dug it all up out of the yard.
Yep.
And then they built the pad, and then we got everything in it. And then I got all this barren yard out here now. It's like going, really?
Grass seed. Just put grass seed down. You're fine.
All we're gonna do. We're gonna bring dirt in though because they scraped it up so bad. We'll
So what was
get
one
it
of your
done.
favorite shows? What's a good memory from one of your shows you did?
Good memory from one of my shows. Yale tercentennial celebration of Yale University. That was an interesting one. We did it in the Yale Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in 2001. 9/11 had just happened, and then they were going to do the tercentennial celebration for Yale in October.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, they came back and said, "We're not going to do it," because there was a lot of kids at Yale who lost family members in
Sure, yeah.
in the towers. But then they came back and they said, "We're not going to bow down to terrorism. We're going to do what we're going to do." But one of the things we had to do was, because they were bringing back everybody that was a Yale graduate, and I mean presidents to you name it, entertainers, yada yada. And of course, none of the presidents came. They all sent recorded messages because they didn't want to. The fun part is that every day the bomb squad would come in.
Oh yeah.
And so we'd have to stop working on one half of the stadium. They would come through, walk through the dogs, and do all that. And then when they'd finish that, then we'd have to take everybody on the other side and we'd have to move them over to the side that had just been inspected. And then they had to come over and inspect the other side.
Right.
So then they get to run the dogs down to that side. And so that always screwed up most of the day, but it wasn't too bad. But I got to work with Big Bird.
Oh. What's he like in real life?
You know what? It wasn't the actual guy.
Oh,
There's
weird.
two guys. I learned this. There's two guys. The main guy that was Big Bird from day one, if he's still, I don't even know if he's still alive or not, but they told me that if they were recording for Sesame Street, he was the only one that was Big Bird.
Okay.
And so this other guy would go out and do other appearances if they needed to.
Yeah.
But this guy, he sounded just like him, like Big. It was nuts. He had like 5 people. One person took care of the feet, one person took care of the head, one person took care of the body, and then he had this thing that fit on his head. It had a monitor on it so he could see out what was going on. And I thought, what a damn mess.
Yeah.
But it was really cool just that, I remember him from your childhood. You're going, that's Big Bird.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of cool. And then Paul Simon came and he played.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's an asshat, but he came and played. He wasn't a nice guy. He was having a bad day that day for sure. But I had been warned that he has a lot of bad days. So, but we just did that thing. But then probably the other one that's more memorable was D23 in Anaheim, and that was we did the first year of that one, and they called it D23 because 1923 is the year that Disney went into California, started all this stuff. And so they had this thing they called the D23. It was kind of like a fan access thing, big convention, all this thing. But I was in the arena at the convention center in Anaheim. And so I didn't realize that Disney owns everything.
Oh, yeah.
They own ESPN, they own ABC, they own all of that stuff, anything had to do with that, we got all those people coming in. So like That year was the first year that Modern Family started.
Uh-huh.
So they brought all those people in. So they got to meet all those people, had all those in. And then,
What year?
this was in 2000. I'd have to go back and look and see now.
You're
It's
talking
been
about
a
Modern Family,
while.
the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they brought all of them in. They had John Travolta was there. Tim Allen was there. You know, they did that motorcycle movie that was Travolta, and it was Martin Lawrence was in it, and they were what they called themselves, the Road Hogs or something. I don't remember what it was, but
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
they had that movie, so they were all there for that. Uh, Let me see. Betty White was there. She was having her big birthday celebration, and then all the Muppets were. I didn't know that Disney owned all the Muppets.
Really?
No, and it was really weird. And so we were threatened when we started this. We were told that if anybody was caught taking pictures, you were off the gig. You were out.
I would have been out.
You'd have been gone. You'd have made it the first 30 minutes. You'd have been gone. But and they told me that after I took a picture of this big thing looked like a riverboat we unloaded off this truck.
Yeah.
But the thing that sucked is I was sitting at my desk one day and we were doing some rehearsals, and the Muppet portion of it is they pushed this big riverboat out on the stage, and this thing's giant, and the Muppets are inside and they're all singing this song.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. And so one day at my desk, we were going to rehearse it. So I'm sitting there and I've got all the Muppets in a semicircle around me, and they're all practicing the song. And there's Miss Piggy and Kermit and everybody. And I'm thinking, and I can't take a damn picture of any of this. I cannot
That
do a
sucks.
thing.
That
I'm
sucks.
looking at this going, how am I, this is my childhood. I'm like going, I can't take a picture of this crap.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, we had a good time. God, it was a lot of work, but we had a good time. I worked with a guy named Steve Oliker
Mhm.
out there that I put him on a pedestal I mean, this guy, he was a production phenomenon. And I was like a little kid. I followed him everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just watched him and just the little things that he knew, and he could did it, and it just, and the nicest guy on the planet.
That's
Never
cool.
had a bad word to say to anybody. Anything. He was just really cool. And but I followed him around like a little kid because he was just amazing. But I did meet Johnny Depp was there. He played Jack Sparrow
Yeah.
because they were introducing one of the new Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and so he came out for that. And so there was a lot of people at that show. We had a good time with that one. I don't care if I ever see if I see Toy Story again, because I watched that. I watched all those about 6 times.
Yeah.
Because at first they showed the regular ones and they had to show them in 3D and they had to do that.
Yeah.
But just dumb stuff like that.
I remember I did a show and think about this. It was supposed to be like a 4-hour mini, right? But it ended up being 17 hours. And so it was at the Anatole in Dallas. And I forget who all was on it, but throughout the day, they had a big ballroom, right? What's the big ballroom there? The Chantilly, right?
Yeah, Chantilly. Yep.
They had the Chantilly ballroom, and everybody was in general session in there. And then they'd send everybody out to breakout rooms, and then they did like a remote satellite live stream that would come in to all these breakout rooms. But it was just the general session, and we just changed the stage and then broadcast live from Chantilly Ballroom to all the breakout rooms. And then so we had to sprint. So we sat backstage doing nothing. And then we had to like hurry up and reset the stage and then send it out to them. And then they'd come back to general session. So I had to set the stage back or whatever. And we kept doing this back and forth all day long. And it was pretty dumb, I thought. And so I was talking to the hair and makeup girl, and she kept saying there were some actors that were flying in from New York. And I was like, okay, whatever. But there was bad weather, and so their plane was delayed and stuff. And at some point she goes, "Do you want these Bubba teeth?" I was like, "I don't want the nasty Bubba teeth if they've been used." She goes, "No, they're new in the package. We were going to use them for the gig, but now we're not." And I was like, "Well, heck yeah, I want some Bubba teeth." So I put them in, and I start, kind of playing dumb. And these actors finally show up from New York, right? And so they all show up, and they show up with the hair and makeup girl, And this one black guy is all like, I don't need hair and makeup. I'm going to be on stage for 5 minutes, and black don't crack and all this kind of thing. And I'm like, whatever. And so he walks off, and I put in the boa teeth, and I walk behind him. And he walks into the green room and starts getting some catering. And so I walk in and I do the same thing. Well, he sits down and I sit down. It's just me and him in there. And I got these boba teeth, and I was like, so. And I'm like picking at these teeth, making it real obvious, and pretend to pick stuff out and flick it at him. And I was like, so what is this company? And he tells me. I was like, that's nice. Anyway, what do you guys do? And he said, well, we sell this product. I'm like, well, what does that do exactly? And he says, it's a pain medication. I'm like, hold on. What kind of idiot is going to take their hard-earned money and buy a medication that causes pain? That's stupid. And he goes, no. It prevents pain. It stops the pain. I'm like, I'm still stuck on this. And so I got the boba teeth, and I'm like, why would anybody spend money on something that causes pain? That's just so stupid to me. And he's getting more and more frustrated, and I'm getting more and more amused because I think it's funny.
Well, yeah, that's right up your alley. So,
because like I know what he's talking about, but I'm just messing with the guy. So right then the producer walks by. Okay, so let's rewind. So me and Brent Brito, you know Brent, right? Audio guy.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yep.
So we found some white tape and we found some Sharpies. And so we started writing things like, I heart man hugs, and I don't know, like ask me about my herpes and things like that. And we'd rip off the piece of tape and be like, oh, hey, man. And we like, come up and put it on people's back and then walk away because we thought it was funny. And we were bored. And somebody had to go adjust a microphone, and they walked in front of a broadcast camera, and it said I heart man hugs on their back. And you could clearly see it. And so the producer had already come up to me and said, look, I think it's funny too, but stop doing this. And I was like, okay. And he goes, or I'm going to send you home. I'm like, okay. And as he's saying that, I'm writing on the tape, this is the piece of tape that got me sent home because I didn't want to be there. And so I take it off and I put it on his back. And then he didn't even notice it. And I was like, this is so frustrating. So I take the tape off of his back and I'm like, look. And he goes, that's funny, but seriously, stop. Well, anyway, then later on, I'm like picking my teeth and talking about the pain medication. And producer walks by and goes, they walk by and they stop and they come back and they double take and they go, you. And I'm like, They go, get out. I'm like, okay. And so I leave. 5 minutes later, this black guy gets up on stage. He's the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company. I've been backstage like, so why would anybody buy a medication that causes pain? I thought he was just an actor. I was just messing with another actor. But no, it's the CEO.
I can say this. I can say this about this guy. You have to watch him when he gets bored because there's nothing good coming from it.
This is the worst.
When you did get bored that one time and you made me that video for my wife for her business, that was very nice. She still uses that. Yeah. The phone number's wrong on it, but she still uses it.
People can figure it out. They just try all the numbers. How many numbers can you possibly get out of 10 numbers?
Exactly. Yeah, you were always dangerous when you got bored. You could find things to do, and you could find trouble to get into if you got bored.
Real quick.
Yes, very quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Hey, you were a mess.
Did you ever do anything dumb when you were on show?
Yeah, pretty much like all the time.
Well, let's hear it.
I just, just dumb stuff. I always used to bitch at the guys. I used to tell them, I said, look, when you move the truss racks, make sure you got 2 people on them.
Uh-huh.
Because you know how they were just they were just stacked. It was just in 2s and then straight up, and it was just you go all over the place. So what did I do? I was bored one night, and there was a truss rack standing there, and I wanted to get on the truck, and the guys went and took a break or something. So I said, I can push it on there.
Did it fall over?
Yeah. As I went to push it on, it hooked itself in a groove right there on the dock, and it just went that way. And I thought, I got this. I'm going to save this. No, I didn't have it at all.
No.
You probably still see the cut where I got on my arm. No, that was retarded. No, I almost got into the last one of the last shows that I did. I almost got into a fight.
Uh-huh.
And I got to tell you about this guy. He was funny. we were at, we were downtown. What was the hotel next to the convention center?
The convention center in downtown?
Yeah, in
The
Dallas,
Omni?
yeah. Yeah, we're at the Omni.
Yeah.
We were doing a thing at the Omni, and so it was, I was filling in for somebody called me, said, "Can you fill in for me?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go do it." So I went and did it, and it was a long damn day. I remember that, but it was just a one-day deal. We set up that morning, they had the
Oh
big
yeah.
dinner that evening and tore it all out. So, we got it up, everything went fine, we were tearing it all down, we were boxing it up. Truck driver calls me. Imagine that, the truck driver calls me.
Oh yeah.
"Hey, man, how do I get there?" I was like, "Hey, man, I don't know. I can tell you what street it's off of, but that's about all I can tell you." He goes, "Well, aren't you from there?" And I said, "Well, kind of, yeah." But so he sat over at the convention center, and he goes, "Well, I don't know how to get over there." I said, "You go down this street, when you see the news station, take a right, and you'll see the docks."
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it. Couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. Then he finally goes, "Well, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to go ahead and leave. Y'all find somebody else."
What?
Okay, it's midnight at this point,
No.
so I get a hold of one of the guys at the trucking department for that company we were working with, and I said, "Hey, this driver's he's being a pain." I said,
Yeah.
"He's not listening to me. And so they called and went, and then they called the owner of the trucking company, and then he got involved. It was a big mess. So the guy finally makes it over there, and he gets backed in, and I'm standing up on the dock and I'm talking to somebody. And he gets out, and he's this little short guy, kind of a little short guy, and I hear him say, "Who's Gavin?" And I turned and I looked and I said, "I am."
Like I know that guy.
I said, "I am." He goes, "Well, I don't appreciate you talking to me the way you did over the phone." I said, "But how'd I talk to you?" And he said, "Well, you said this." I said, "I didn't. I didn't say anything to you. I just said, get your ass over here so we can get this done." And so I handed him his paperwork. I said, "Here's your paperwork." I said, "Well, I'll yell at you when I'm done." Well, he took his paperwork, went over to the cab, opened it up, and threw the paperwork in. Then he came up the ramp and came up on the dock, and he picked up a board as he's doing it.
What?
So he picks up this board. Somebody had broken some pallets.
Yeah.
There was some construction stuff over there, and they'd broken some pallets. Well, he picked up a pallet board, and he comes walking towards me. He goes, "Well, I'm going to tell you something." And I went, "Hold that thought for just 1 minute."
Yeah.
And I said, "Now, I'm just going to be just as nice as I can be about this." And I said, "If you come one more step closer to me," I said, "you're going to look like a popsicle when you turn around and walk off." And I
Yeah.
said, I am not in the mood. I want this truck loaded. I want you out of here." And he goes, and he kind of leaned forward, and I said, "Now, I'm very serious about what I said." I said, "I'm gonna beat the snot out of you if you bring that board over here." And he backed up, and my audio guy, he kind of was right beside me, and he kind of leaned over, and he told the guy, just kind of waved him off, and the guy got back in his truck. And and I thought, I've been through it all now.
Oh yeah.
I thought, I mean, I've met with, people in bands that they want to fight and be stupid
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff, but this guy showed up with a board.
He was ready.
Mhm. Oh yeah, he was ready. Ready to get his ass beat when he was ready. But yeah, I called them, and then they called me the next day, and I got him in trouble. And this, I said, "I didn't get anybody in trouble."
Yeah.
I said, "It's not my job to go," because what he wanted me to do is he wanted me to have one of my people walk down to the convention center and lead him over to where we were. And I
Isn't that
said,
Tunnell?
"Okay, exactly. It's 12:30. We're in downtown Dallas, and I'm not sending any of my people out on the street at 12:30 at, at
Let me
night."
tell you exactly. I'm gonna give you very specific instructions. You open up your phone, you type in the address, you hit go, and then follow that blue line till we're here.
Bring you right to it.
Yeah.
And I never understood it because I can't tell you how many truck drivers would call me and say, "How do I get there?" And I said, "I'm not from Boston. I don't know where I am." I was like, "How am I going to tell you how to
Follow the
get
sound
here?"
of my voice, monkey.
Yeah, no shit. It was just, I said, "You just," it was like the show we did in Denver.
Yeah.
This guy showed up, and we were down in the oh my god, what ballroom was that? Where we had to go down into the where the Bell Theater was right there,
Oh, I think I know.
and you
Yeah.
had to go down in that mess and back in there. Oh my god. This guy showed up. It took him over an hour to get to the on the dock. And I finally had to go tell him because he would start backing up and he would stop and get out. And I said, "What'd you get out for?" He goes, "I saw a guy walking along the side of the truck there." So don't worry about the guys walking. They're working. They know you're moving. They got an eye on you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Nope. He'd do it again. He'd stop. Look, see what's going on. Stop. Look, what's going on. And I was kind of getting frustrated. And I don't ever get frustrated
Yeah. I can vouch for that.
much. But, and I finally got to the point where I told him, if you get out of that truck one more time, I'm going to kick your ass. I
Did you
said, we
do
got to
it?
get loaded. And I think he kind of took, and I sent one of my steward, I know one of my steward, but one of my union guys said, Gavin, he goes, we buy trucks in here all the time. I said, you handle it, please take it. So
Yeah.
he went down there, and I thought he was going to kick the truck driver's ass at one point. He kept going, he won't listen to me. He's not doing it. It's finally, and we finally got him back in, but man, that was, and then I had three trailers going in,
Mhm.
and I was afraid about the other two. But the other two, they right in, and I said, "Were you guys with the first guy that came in?" Yeah, he's with us. I said, "Then why the hell did you come down here and help him?"
Yeah.
They go, "Did he have a problem?" I said, "Did he have a problem? Let me tell you all about his problem." God, we were so far behind on that show. That was that show there was the one that helped me decide I was going to have to retire.
How long has it
That
been for you?
I retired officially last year.
Okay.
But, I did some stuff in 2003, didn't do anything in 4 because everything was just had gone haywire. So
Yeah.
I just that's when I finally said, "I'm done." But,
Good for
when we
you.
did that was True Value Hardware we did in Denver,
Mhm.
and that was that show that we had to set it up. The CEO came in that morning at, like we did it the first event was, like, at 7 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
They come in, 45 minutes, boom, it's done. Clear the stage, set it up for the band that night, and then we played, and I think, Darius Rucker played that night.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he played, and then as soon as he got done, we struck him and got him out of there. We were there for 23 hours.
Straight.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
And
I did one
when
that
I got
was
home
I did one that was
mm,
48 straight hours, and that was also for Hootie and the Blowfish. Um,
really,
it was supposed to be four
I've
hour
done those.
4 hour call, and it ended up being all day, all night, all day, all night. I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and I left at 8 o'clock on Wednesday. It was miserable.
I hate those shows. Those
So
or some of those.
early in my career, um, we had to share hotel rooms, and a lot of time somebody else booked your labor, somebody else booked your flights, right?
Mm.
Later, I was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. But um, I showed up. I flew in late. I got in after midnight, and I the the guy I was rooming with was asleep, and so I just like tiptoed in and brushed my teeth and went to bed. But I got up early so I could take a shower and get out of there. And I saw him, but he didn't really see me. But he kind of knew who I was or whatever. But we hadn't met, and so we had this big meeting. It was like 50 texts or something like that. And so I think it was in Orlando, and the boss is like, okay, this is video's job, and this is audio's job, and lighting's job, and set design or whatever. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, he described it. He goes, this is your team and whatever. Does anybody have any questions? I'm like, yeah, I do. He goes, all right, John, what's your question? I said, well, and I knew most of the people, but I didn't know this guy that I was rooming with. I was like, do we get a discount on a room if we just use one bed? And the guy goes, we did not just use one bed. And I'm like, come on, man, we're just trying to save the company some money. Do we get a discount on the room or not? He goes, we did not just use one bed. I'm like, stop, man. Like, why are you making this weird? Like, we're just trying to save the company some money. Do we get the discount or not? And everybody's laughing because they know I'm kidding. And he's like, I just want to be clear. We did not just use one bed.
You could do that. Yeah. I did. I hated that sharing rooms thing. Oh
Oh,
God,
it's
that
tough.
sucked.
It was the worst, man.
God, that's terrible.
I'm like, but we're
Like you
saving
said,
money. I'm like, not enough to matter.
I forget, there was one guy that he was one of our audio guys. I forget where we were, but he had the room with one of the lighting guys.
Mhm.
And he told me that he goes, yeah, I went back to the room one day and we got done somewhat early. And so got back about 3 or 4 in the afternoon and lighting guy just laying there on the couch, butt naked. And he walks in, he goes, hey man, what?
Cover up.
Oh, this how I hang out all the time. And he was like, no, it's not how you hang out all the time.
Yeah.
Not with me, you don't.
Put some
Uh,
pants on, you weirdo.
yeah, no kidding. That's just, no, I just, yeah, that was sharing rooms sucked. That was horrible.
Yeah.
Then when I got with this last company, they said, "Oh no, we don't share rooms." I was like, "Oh, thank God,"
Yeah.
because that was horrible.
Yeah. It's about time. So I did another one, and it was the truck driver. I shared the room with the truck driver, and I hadn't met him either. And we did this. We came in kind of like what you said. We did the show. We set it up. We did the show. We struck the show, and we left. And it was kind of a long thing. And so the truck driver, we get it all packed up, and we close the door and lock it. And he starts driving away. And he was my roommate. And somebody acknowledged it. I go, yeah, I guess Roy's my girlfriend now. Everybody just started cracking up. And so from that point forward, we made jokes all the time. And he'd be like, yeah, but John, you never get me any flowers. You never get me any chocolates. Like, how can I be your girlfriend if you don't give me no flowers? And so we were coming into Orlando, and I called him up. I said, hey, Roy, where are you at? And he told me, I said, look around. What do you see? And he goes, John, there's flowers everywhere. I'm like, those are for you, Roy. I had a plan for you.
Just for you, nobody else but just for you.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, the guys that were up on the eastern coast, like Boston and New York,
Yeah.
those guys were kind of fun because there was one of my stagehands one time. He was Boston. I don't know if he was New York or Boston. He was just heavy into it though. And he was talking to his girlfriend he was doing like FaceTime with her one on the phone. I said, "What are you doing?" I leaned over and I looked and he goes, that's my girlfriend. And I was like, okay. I didn't think nothing about it. We were on break, and so I went on and did something and then went back around. He's still talking to her. And I said, let me talk to your girlfriend real quick. And he goes, I don't know. I don't know about that, man. I was like, dude, it's like, dude, really? You think I'm going to pick up on your girlfriend right here? No.
Right.
Now, 10 years ago, I probably would have, but not now. I'm not going to.
Yeah. Don't make it weird.
So I picked up the phone and I said, how are you doing? She goes, I'm good. How are you? And I said, I'm good. So what's your name, darling? And he snatched the phone up out of my hand. He goes, you can't be calling my girlfriend darling. What's wrong with you? And I was like, I'm from the South, you dipshit. Of course I'm going to call her darling. What else am I going to call her?
Yeah. She doesn't have a name, you weirdo.
No, not now. She doesn't. I like the guys up on the east side. They were more fun. Except the Philly boys, they could be a little testy sometimes. But
There's a lot of touchy guys.
if you piss them off, they're testy. You can't do anything about that. So
There's this one rigger. I mean, riggers are pretty violent anyway, but there's this one rigger. I forget what we were doing, and he just bowed right up on me. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to hang these screens projectors. I'm just trying to get this LED wall working. Like, I don't want to fight with you. And he kept on like, I'll belay down from the roof and smack you in the head with this dog bone or whatever. And I'm like, or we could just, not do that. He was ready to fight the whole time. He's like, what all shows have you done? I'm like, I don't know, like thousands. I don't really keep track anymore. I don't care. Well, I just did Metallica. I'm like, cool. Somebody had to be the worst person on the gig. I don't know.
you know what? I've got a lot of friends that were on the road. Okay.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
respect that were on tour with bands and stuff. That was not me.
No.
I couldn't do it. And I was too much of a homebody, but I had a guy that kind of firmed it up for me this one time. We were in San Diego doing a gig. My lead rigger was probably in his 70s,
Mhm.
and he just came by and checked on the guys, make sure everybody was in place, was doing their thing and all that. Just a great guy. But
Mhm.
and I would sit and talk, and he would tell me about all the shows he'd been on over the years, and he just had been on just show after show after show, and I was like, "Wow." And he goes, "You know, the funny thing about it is, these new guys that come on, And he goes, "I could tell you probably like in 15, 20 minutes whether they would make it or not on the road."
Oh, really?
I said, "Oh, really?" And so I said, "Okay, I got one for you." And he goes, "Yeah, what's that?" And I said, "What about me?" And without even hesitating, he went, "No, no, like, no." And I said, "Good, because I don't want to be on the road anyway."
Yeah.
So
Nailed it.
no. And I told him, I said, "I just was never a desire of mine to do that. I just never did."
I
I
thought you
respect my.
traveled.
I've got friends that are still doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I thought you didn't you travel for a living though?
Oh yeah, I did. I did. I traveled, but I just didn't want to be on tour with anybody with a band or
Oh,
anything.
with a single band. Got it.
Yeah, I just did not want to do that. That was just because I worked with a guy that he did when Bon Jovi "Slippery When Wet" came out,
Oh yeah.
and he did that whole tour with them, and they were gone for a year and a
2 years.
half, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was close to 2 years. But
That's a young
he
man's
told me
game or a single man's game.
it is. That's all it is. Because he told
Yeah.
me, he says, "Man, with that "Slippery When Wet" tour," he goes, "Gavin, I saw things that I'll never forget,
Oh yeah.
and things that I can't ever tell anybody I saw."
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I had a mother-daughter combo one time. I was like, "Whoa, dude, hang on a minute, hang on a
Yeah.
second.
Hard pass.
Let let me get something to drink so I can hear this story. I didn't know about this."
Yeah.
But, no,
Yeah, there's
I
some
just
weird stuff
couldn't.
on the
I
road.
couldn't.
I'll tell you what, you're on the road for a while, and at first you hear all the road guys, and you're like, that's not true, whatever. You can remember what city you were in or whatever. And somebody called me up and said, hey, can you do a show here? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. I looked at my calendar, and they said, have you been there before? I'm like, dude, I haven't even been to that state, but I don't care. I'll go. And so 2 weeks later, I'm there, and we're loading in, and somebody goes, where's the dock? And I was like, oh, I think you go around that corner and over there and there. And he goes, I thought you hadn't been here before. I'm like, I haven't. He goes, how would you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like that's where it is. And they go, well, let's go look. And so I went my exact directions. I was like, how would I know where that dock is? That's so weird. I looked at my calendar. I was like, I've been at this exact hotel 2 weeks ago. Like literally
Oh, man.
in this hotel, in this city, in this state 2 weeks ago. And I still was like, no, I've never even been to that state. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know anything about it.
I don't know nothing about that.
I get up and I used to get up and I would like if I had left for the day, the show for the day, and go back to the hotel. There was some days I would go to the front desk and say, "What room number am I in?"
Oh yeah.
Because I forget. I couldn't remember what room number I was in sometimes. It just
I had a joke that if I knew which direction to walk out of my hotel room to get to the elevator, then the show was over. I'd been there too long. Right? Because every
yep,
day I'd be like, is it this way? I'm like, no. Is it this way? I'm like, no. Is it this way? I'm
exactly.
like,
Yep,
good. But then I
Mister
did it
Get
wrong
it.
the
You got to
first
look.
time. So then I'm trying to correct myself every time. And like, oh no, I think it's but if I knew like I go left out of the room to the elevator, I'd be like, I've
Oh
been
yeah,
there
I
too
did.
long.
I always did that. And you go out the first couple of days, which way was the elevator? You go
Oh yeah.
looking left, looking right. It's like what? I don't. But yeah, you're right. As soon as you knew where it was, you'd been there too long for
Yeah, it's
sure.
time to go.
Kind
I'm
of like,
terrified of elevators. I've been taking steps to avoid them.
have you really? I ain't
Yeah.
buying that.
It's
You're so
wrong on
full of
so many
shit. I know
levels.
you. Yeah, there was what was that? Oh, I forgot what that was. Shit, I hate when I do that. There was I knew I had an issue with one of the shows, but I don't remember which one it was now. I had so damn many issues with shows.
Yeah.
It really wasn't the people. I think just the last few years that I did it after COVID, that was a mess.
Yeah.
That was a nightmare. Um,
Well, everything went to like live stream and remote and stay at home, and then it
well,
went to some hybrid.
I did that for a year. I did live stream for a year, and that was in 21, and
Yeah.
that was just that's horrible. And then I did, and then when 22 came around and everything went back, and everybody started going back, and I still wasn't seeing much. So I called one of the booking ladies and I said, "What's going on?" I said, "It's been kind of quiet." She looked at my record. She goes, "Well, you're not vaccinated."
Oh.
And I go, yeah, I am. She goes, really? And I said, yeah, I'm vaccinated. She goes, well, let me put that on your file. And after that, I just started getting work out the wazoo.
Really?
And not, and what was so sad about it?
Did you
What I
actually get
hated about
vaccinated?
it? Sure.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah. I got the card somewhere to prove it too. Um, but it was, that's the thing that made me so mad was because you had to have your card. You had to prove this. You had to prove that.
Yeah.
But every show that I went to, nobody ever asked me to prove
No,
anything, not a thing.
because they all knew it was
And
nonsense.
it was stupid. It was ridiculous. I think it should have never happened
You're
myself.
right.
That's just my opinion. They should have never happened. We could have made this work and everything would have been fine.
Yeah.
But what it did was, like I said, it gave everybody a chance to hit the reset button after COVID.
Yeah.
And
But so many people, came out depressed and suicidal, and there's domestic violence went up, and drug addiction and alcohol addiction went up like crazy, and people have social anxiety, and like it did so much damage.
it
And
did.
like you
It
said, it's
was horrible.
completely unnecessary.
When I lost my job, it's like, what am I going to do? I've been in this business for going on 40 years. It's like, what
Yeah.
the hell do I do now? And we picked up some stuff, but then my body one day said, nope, you're done.
Well, if you don't
Can't do
make
it
time for
anymore.
your body will make time for itself.
I'll tell you what, she's making me pay for it now.
Yeah.
What
So
time
what's the
is it?
next thing you're
Wow.
looking forward to in your life?
Being able to wake up tomorrow, that would be great if you did that. Oh, you're a hug dealer now. Okay.
Yeah, I
See
used to be a
that.
drug dealer. Now I'm a hug dealer.
Jeez.
I make some stupid shirts. You got to admit.
I I'd still say the girl's poop one is
Girls poop is a
still
good
the
one.
best one. That
So,
was a good one.
so I was building a house, and my friend Scott called me up and said, "Hey, do you want to go see Robert Plant play tonight?" Right? And I was like, "No." And he goes, "I got free ticket." I'm like, "I don't care. Like I've seen so many shows, I don't care." And he goes, "Our friend Todd is going to be there. He's working." And I was like, "I'll go see Todd." And so I show up but I was like, I got to work till the last minute. So I worked, took a shower, zipped over, picked him up, went straight to the venue. The show had already started. We got in. I knew somebody at the door. They got me up to the front. I was like, cool, whatever. Fairly quickly, we were kind of bored with the show. And so we were like, let's just go backstage and talk to Todd. And so we did. And I told a story. And then my friend Scott's like, dude, if we meet Robert Plant, you need to tell him that story. I'm like, we're not going to meet Robert Plant. Okay. We're not going to meet him. And anyway, then I'm sitting side stage and Robert Plant comes. He takes a break for an instrumental part. He sits right next to me. And I was like, I'm not going to bother him. Like dude's working. He's probably resting his voice. He don't want to talk to me. So I just, sat there or whatever. And then we went back out front and the show ended. And I was talking to Todd. He was coiling cables, but I wasn't wearing black. So I figured I'd stay on the ground. Well, eventually Robert Plant comes out and he starts taking pictures with people. And I'm like, I think he's too big of a deal to do this. Like, I don't think he should be out here without security or whatever, but nobody seemed to care. So he's taking pictures with everybody. And I was wearing the girl's poop shirt. And there was down to like the last two people. And they're kind of looking like, how are we going to take a picture? And I was like, do you want me to take the picture? And they're like, would you? And so as I'm taking the picture, Robert Plant's like, that's a hilarious shirt. And I was like, thanks, I made it myself. If you want one, give me an address and I'll send it to you. And he gives me this look like, I'm not going to give you an address. And I'm like, I know, but I figured I'd offer. And so we start talking. And then my friend Scott's like, dude, tell him the story. And I'm like, all right, fine. So the story is that uh, the van had this huge road case. It was like really big and wide and tall and really heavy. And it had a deadbolt on it and it was locked shut. And they're like, this has to be on stage with us every night that we play, no matter what, but nobody can open it. And it traveled around the world for like 10 years. And finally, somebody accidentally pushed it off the stage and it busted open. It was just full of cinder blocks. And the whole thing was just a joke. They probably forgot that they told the people to do it. And he laughed. He goes, huh? What band was that? I'm like, Led Zeppelin. And he goes, yeah, that sounds like the guys. So then Scott starts talking to him and says, I just got nominated for 8 Grammys and John got nominated for a Grammy and 8 Emmys and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, shut up, stop. Like, he doesn't care about you. And he goes, "Man, I wish I got nominated for a Grammy." And this guy goes, "What are you talking about? You got nominated for one with Alison Krauss." And he goes, "Guys, this is really embarrassing. Like, I'm not the real Robert Plant, right?" So I never bothered to look because he just said, "Do you want to see Robert Plant?" And I just believed him. He was playing Led Zeppelin songs. He looked enough like him, but it was the singer for Zebra. And so I was all like, I feel pretty stupid right now. But I never bothered to check and see if he really was Robert Plant. I just took his word for it, but he wasn't. So
The lead singer from Zebra. I have a friend of mine, her brother used to play in that band.
That's funny.
I think he's still, who's he playing with now? He's playing with Cowboy Mouth now.
Okay.
But he was in, because we all went to Louisiana Tech, and he was in with all those bands at the time. It was,
Yeah.
there was Zebra, there was several of them, but he was in, Knives with Cowboy Mouth, but he was in several of the bands back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we go back and look at him going, oh my God, we can't believe how long ago that was.
Oh yeah.
It's been feels like a million years.
We're getting old, Gavin.
Yeah, isn't it fun? We get to do all this stuff. Well, it looks like, wow, we're up on the witching hour here.
Yep.
Hey, look, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you taking time to do this. I know
Yeah,
you've
of
been
course.
busy. You
Good
know,
catching
you're
up with you.
slapping houses together, and you got your girlfriend, and and tell her thank you. I know it's her birthday. Tell her happy birthday, and I'll be Oh yeah, and if you guys are watching this, you like it, hit the like and subscribe button, whatever the hell
Oh
that
yeah.
does.
We should
I
have said that
don't
an hour and a
know.
half ago.
I know I should have said that forever ago, and I keep forgetting about it. But and if you happen to be on the podcast, you get a hat too. See,
Yes.
it's even got the logo on there. So, but again, John, it's never a dull moment with you. I don't know
I
what
try
the
to
hell
keep
it
it
is.
fun.
I guess you do,
Yeah.
but I do you have anything you want to plug? Anything going on?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can get on my socials. So it's just John Tunnell, or I think Instagram is John_Tunnell. My TikTok is John Works Too Much. My YouTube is John Tunnell. I've got 7 books published on Amazon, and they're also on Audible and Kindle. I've got 3 albums, and the band is Angels Unaware. And that comes from a scripture that says, "Be careful to be kind to strangers, because in doing so, some have entertained angels unaware." And I think that that's, it's better to live your life and be kind to people. It's better to live your life and be happy and not look over your shoulder, and to just, I don't know, smile and laugh and be nice. It's so much easier. And so that's really what it's about. But I've got 3 albums. And so, I play guitar, piano, and sing. And if you want to check any of that stuff out, then.
But see, you proved that for me though. As much of a pain in the ass that you could always be on show site, you are a sweetheart and you've got a huge heart.
Well, thank you. I
You really
appreciate
do.
that. Yeah.
You
Well,
do.
I mean, I
I've
kid
worked,
around a lot, but at the end of the day, like, if anybody's hurting, I'm like, let's stop what we're doing and make sure they're okay.
and dude, I've seen you just stop and talk to people on the street and say, "Can I get you
That's
some
true
to eat?"
too. That's
I
true
mean,
too.
this guy, he's got a huge heart, y'all. But I really do appreciate you taking the time to visit today and just to see what was going on.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I again hit the like and subscribe button.
Yeah. And send me a link. I'll share it.
That I should have I should have said somewhere in the beginning, but I don't remember what it was. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, the great Mr. John Tunnell. I appreciate you taking the time and seeing us, and I get to do this now.
Oh yeah.
That kind of sounds ugly, doesn't it?
Ah, it's
It was kind
loud.
of weird. That it was too, wasn't it? I'll
Yeah.
ditch that one for right now. But anyway, we're out of here. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. Y'all drive safe. We'll see you down the road. Mr. Tunnell, thank you, sir. Love you tons. I appreciate everything you've done for me and everything you've done with us and everything else. So you take care of yourself, all right?
All right. Love you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Tunnell.